Welcome to another IoT Central Podcast episode, where IoT professionals share their stories, insights, and expertise. IoT Central is the leading global community for professionals advancing the Internet of Things. Our community is free to join at iotcentral.io. Today's guests are Jongboom, co-founder and CTO at Edge Impulse. Joining Jan is Johan Stokking, co-founder and CTO at The Things Industries. They are going to share their stories about building two leading IoT companies and why developers are at the heart of it all. Let's get right to it.
Thank you, IoT Central, for hosting. Edge Impulse and The Things Industries are both IoT companies. They are using developers as a way to grow. Together, our companies have about 170,000 developers on the platform. We together employ about 60 people. And at first, it might look like they're very similar companies. There's a whole bunch of difference in market strategy, how we grow, and that's something that we're going to discuss in the next 30 minutes here together with Johan.
Nice to be here, Jan. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. We're actually in my living room. It's about 30 degrees outside here in Amsterdam. So it's a perfect moment to actually talk about IoT while drinking a little beer.
That's right. Cheers, Jan.
Cool. So, Jan, what is the Things Industries, the Things Network, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so the Things Network is an initiative that we started 6 years ago. It's an open source initiative where people in the community build a physical IoT network together. So people buy gateways. They are sort of wireless access points. They can put them on the roof, and together they build a wireless network. And next to that, we built the Things Industries. We started that half a year later, and we started a business around commercializing the technology for customers that need private networks or SLA or commercial support. Jan, what do? You're also CTO, completely different business model also. What is Edge Impulse about?
Yeah, so Edge Impulse is the place for embedded engineers to add some machine learning to their devices. So I don't really like the term of like a machine learning company, but rather we're in the business of getting people insight in the data that their IoT devices collect. The promise of all these billions of IoT devices was that they're really going to understand the real world and everything all around us, but they're often incredibly dumb devices. They send a temperature value every 10 minutes. So machine learning actually allows you to make your device really feel, hear, and see the real world by listening to events or looking at stuff or really feeling vibration and making sense of the data. Edge Impulse is a developer platform that kind of guides you through that whole flow from initial data acquisition to deployment on the smallest of devices.
Yeah, cool. Where we are complementary, I think, is where if you have a device that is smart and that you don't want to send all the streaming data to the cloud, right? So you don't want to send hundreds of measurements per minute. So you want the device indeed to be smart to draw a conclusion about what's happening. And then maybe you can fit that conclusion in a small frame. Yeah. 10 or 50 or 100 bytes. And that is where we come in with low power wide area network technology.
And we do have joint customers. I think that's a really interesting thing. They're rhino tracking, I think, what these guys are doing. We have a lot of other cases around conservation, electric grid monitoring, all this kind of stuff is perfect match of, lots of compute on the device itself and then sending it over at low power wide area network, like TTI. Interesting question for you, actually. The Things Industries started later than the Things Network. I think that people know, how did that get started and why did you get into, you're not an IT developer before that?
No, that's right. So we started in 2015 as a foundation, as a nonprofit foundation. And our mission was to start with a community network for IoT. So we had a really network-oriented approach. And the idea was you could get a gateway, so that's an access point, and you can set it up on your house, on your roof, or wherever you live. And that way, the community created one big network together. And that was the initial idea, and that is also what we started with as the Things Network, growing the community. And it was only half a year later that we decided to start a business next to it, because we liked very much what we were doing. And we also had some companies that wanted to make use of our technology, and we thought, okay, let's stop considering this as just a side project, but let's focus on this and build a company next to it. So the Things Network Foundation is a nonprofit foundation. It still exists. And next to that, we have initiatives are separate, but they are both run by the same people, by Winke and myself.
Yeah. How important is the community? for you guys?
Yeah, it's essential. We started with the community because it was really inherent to the idea of deploying a community network. So the community is the network also. We don't own any network infrastructure. So the only thing that we do is we enable the community with deploying the physical network and to make use of that network also by deploying devices in the field and setting up developing applications. It's just that we typically see that when people want to start with the IoT technology that we are specialized in, LoRaWAN, they start with the things network. And when they start developing into some more serious application, they need an SLA, they need commercial support, they need maybe a private instance, and then they need a commercial subscription, and that is what we offer with the Things Industries, which is the same technology, same APIs. So for us, it's also it's also marketing for our commercial initiative, but we also see that our community does non-profit stuff. Which will never commercialize, and that's also great.
I think it's cool. Like the bottom-up approach of using your developer base, leveraging that and introducing your technology that way is, I think, an amazing way of actually selling your tech. It's no white papers that you need to send to the CIO and say, hey, this is amazing, and go buy this. And then years later, the decision maker maybe writes you a $100K check.
Yeah. And I also really believe that also has changed. When we started 5-6 years ago, it was already the time where developers choose what technology they use. Whereas maybe 10 or 15 years ago, there was a CIO that made a big deal with a database vendor, and they said, okay, developers here, this is your database that you have to use, and today this is the other way around. And that is where saying what you guys do is a developer approach. If you own the developer's heart, then that will ultimately result in business.
Yeah. So there's actually a really good book about it. I think you've read it, but it's called The New Kingmakers. And it's really about kind of how lots of companies that are really big companies right now first got the developer in and lead through that, and how kind of that like transitioned the whole industry. I think that's cool. Yeah. The one before at Jongboom was with ARM, and the one thing that I hated there was this focus by the product people of like separating a user base in hobbyists and professional developers. Yeah. And we could basically not spend any time on the hobbyists anymore. Yeah. As professional developers was where the money was and where the deals were. But the interesting part, like someone might be a professional developer, but they're just acting as a hobbyist, just trying out some new tech, or they're sitting in CTO office somewhere. And it's just so much easier to go in on a commercial discussion if there's 5 people in the company already using it, and you can actually show that to the customer as well. And that for us has been also really fundamental initially in getting some ground there. And more importantly, I think a developer community is like pushing a boulder up a hill, right? It's a lot of work, but once on the hill and just starts going down, it goes by itself. And it's something that no one can replicate that. There might be a new company, in your space, or your space, my space, but replicating that developer community is so much work. And winning the hearts of developers again is so hard. Money it's not something we just throw more money at.
Yeah, true. And we also have, we lean very strong also on the network effect, where every gateway added, you add a gateway and then you make use of 50,000 gateways. You get that for free. And so the developer community that we have it's indeed a community of developers, skilled people that are expert in a particular part of developing applications or solutions, but it's also a community that where give and take is really in balance, and that's also something that indeed you can't stop.
And that is, at least I've experienced it a couple of times in larger companies before starting at Jongboom, is that a developer community is seen as a resource that you can take away from or you can leverage, but the companies don't want to do anything for that community anymore. And that is kind of the moment you lose everything that makes that community great, because the community also sees it when more value is being taken from them than actually the company is being added.
And that is actually really, you really need to treat your developer community really delicately. And that's also for us always a fine line that we don't want. We want our developer community to be independent and to. We don't want to constrain them, and we also don't want to give them the impression that the community is there only to drive our business. And that's also why we started early on in the early days with the manifest. where we also formally state that the community network can also be used for commercial use cases, for example. And also we give a lot of power and influence to our community initiators that are based in cities or in areas all around the world. And they organize the meetups, they organize everything. They print T-shirts and mugs and everything. And that's something that we the only thing that we do is just give them the tools, and they are self-organized. And even if we wanted to abandon the community or in any way, then there's no power even that we have. They're self-organized anyway.
I mean, I still remember we were sitting in a bar in Tokyo when Hidetoshi, the Japanese leader of the Japanese community, came in with his own printed business cards with your logo on. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, or in South Africa, in Cape Town, where they had the Things Network meetup, and they had a whole rack of wine bottles in the back with the Things Network labels on the wine. They were, and that was completely normal for them. It was really cool.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so we see it a little bit happening right now. We're a bit earlier. We started only in 2019. But we see it like there's people who identify as part of Edge Impulse that we've never heard of, or maybe they're on the forums and they ask a question sometimes, but. At some point, we realized Jeremy Ellis is a Canadian, I think, high school teacher. He's built this full curriculum on using Edge Impulse to use in class. And he's teaching all students with that. Like, amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's really cool.
That is great validation, indeed. Yeah.
So what is the business model behind TTI?
So TTN is mostly losing money. That has always been there from the beginning. We don't have a business model. We did consider in the beginning to have some sort of model where we could at least cover the costs, but it all became quite complicated, and we thought, okay, we just sponsor it as being the Things Industries, and also it's already the cost the cost of the Things Network is nothing if you compare it with the investment of the community in gateway infrastructure or in climbing up towers and installing gateways, powering them, keeping them connected. So there's already a capital investment of millions and millions only in the global infrastructure, all shared by everyone in the community, of course, but still. The TTN is something that we sponsor. TTI, the Things Industries, we have a SaaS business model. So our customers, they pay per month for every device that they have activated in their account.
How does this, for a lot of IoT companies, at least in my experience, a lot of IoT companies that go this route of we charge per connected device, it's a very hard business model because, well, first of all, it takes a while before there's actual volume.
Yeah.
And then second, once there's volume, there's a really good reason to design you out because it's just an extra line item on the BOM. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's 10 cents or whatever per device per month. If we can actually get rid of that. Yeah. That is much cheaper.
No, that's right. But still, I also still believe that at the same time, we need to align our business model with the value model of our customers. And we believe that the deployment size is also a value driver for our customers. So the larger their device population is, usually the more value they have and the more money they make. But doesn't always work that way. But what certainly doesn't work is our metrics like a number of messages per day, or that's a traditional telecom model, or a number of gateways, for example. We also don't want to charge only for that. So we need to have something, and we are going with the number of activated devices because we believe that fits best with the value of our customers. And there's obviously huge volume discounts if you scale. It's only in the beginning, maybe it's indeed more in the tens of cents per device per month. But that goes down rapidly.
So for us, we chose my co-founder ran an IT startup, started in 2005 or something, really early. And that was a really big reason for us not to go with this model.
Yeah.
So, and also, like, how do you capture, let's say there's a steel manufacturer somewhere in the Netherlands, and they want to do some predictive maintenance on some of their steamrollers, which are really expensive. Like, how are you going to capture optimal value from that customer if he's going to deploy at most 100 devices?
Yeah.
So for us, it's also SaaS, but in a per project per month thing. And our idea is here that one project will kind of keep going indefinitely because you might want to add more data, refine things. And if you're successful, a company will start experimenting more with their data and just tag on projects that way.
Yeah.
So it might very well be that we don't capture all the value if someone reaches super high volumes, but it gives us the benefit of at least earning money early on, already in the R&D cycle. And I think that is good. We don't have to wait for embedded ML to become really, really big and ubiquitous and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is definitely a key difference between our businesses, is that our revenue model is really at the end of the chain. Basically, we only charge when the device is out there in the field, installed, activated, and then we charge per month. And in your case, it's more in the beginning of the production. Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah.
So you're about 30 people now, I think.
Yeah, 32. Yeah,
32. How has that changed your life and your day to day?
Not so much, I think. What we are really happy and fortunate with is that a lot of people that joined early on, they are still with us. And as we grew, we also started doing more things. And some of those new things that we started doing in the past 4 years, I'm not super involved in myself. So personally, it didn't really change my day-to-day work. Like we organize conferences, for example, and we have really good people in our team doing that. And same for business development, for example. So I hardly talk to customers. I wouldn't love to do that more. And I think I should also. But we are still, I think still 30 people is still not large enough to start introducing management layers and the whole formal line of reports and things. So. And we grew slowly also. That's also maybe different to your business, is that we started 5 years ago and we are bootstrapped. So we are growing slowly. If we have 5K MRR more, then we basically hire another person. That's basically how we grow. It's really simple. And so it really grew gradually. And but I still have lots of time to do some development myself.
I actually try to stay away from customer conversations as much as possible, especially sales conversations.
Yeah, why is that?
So I think for me the important part of like growing from to become kind of a business that is going to run at 100 people or something, you can't have founder-led sales anymore, and that's kind of how you do the whole first 2 years. Basically, is all founder-led sales up until kind of this point where we're now. We're 27 people full time. 30 people with everyone. And with a sales team now, the sales team is like 10 people. They need to be able to make sales on their own, because that's the only way we can actually show that we scale. We're not bootstrapped, we're a VC-backed company, and they want to see those returns. And I think for us, the biggest part there is what a VC likes to see is it's a funnel and there's multipliers or at every point. And if I put 100 people in the funnel, then 10 qualified leads come out, and out of those 10 qualified leads, like 2 suck. Yeah. And if you can show that work, and that is a machine, and the only thing you need to do is throw more people into the funnel, and the rest kind of works without you becoming a bottleneck. Yeah. Then you have a company that can grow from where we're now to Series B and beyond. So that getting out of that loop is really important for us. And back in February, we had our first sale, actually, where neither me or Zach was involved, like final discussions and contract work. Yeah. Not in that initial discussion. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's nice. But, I also recognize that. So indeed, we are already, I'm already past indeed that, because my company is a bit older, but that's definitely true. And also those are milestones, right? That indeed you're not involved yourself anymore in the sales process. We also had moments where we have a self sign-up process, so people can go to our website and they can fill out the credit card information, everything. And we increasingly start seeing customers that we never talked to, and they are growing, and their account is growing, and everything works. And maybe they file 1 or 2 support tickets that are handled by first line support, and then you also start seeing, okay, this is really scaling. That is really nice to see. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, for us, we don't really have this. The pricing, at least for us, and that's something we do now. Maybe in 6 months that will be a bit different. It's either completely free, there's no little tag-ons or nothing, just zero, or expensive. And there's nothing in between, kind of as a way for us to focus on key accounts, focus on customers where we can actually add value. So there's not really a lot of growth directly from free user to being paid converted or something. We do a lot to kind of evangelize our product within those companies, and we get qualified leads kind of out of our free users. We have inside sales that actually looks through all of those lists, but there's not really a natural ramp up point going from free developer to paid, which I think would actually cannibalize a lot of the work, right? As a developer, you don't really think about it much. Like I didn't think about this 2 years ago either, about pricing strategies and how you should actually put something in the market. But let's say you have a cheap offering, like, I don't know, like $100 a month or something for some extra compute. And then you have your enterprise offering for $100K a year. If you actually introduce that $1K a year price point in the middle, it might very well be cannibalizing from the large sales.
Yeah.
And maybe in 6 months we'll change all of that, but so far it's been working.
Yeah.
But I think that's a cool, interesting difference between the two things that we do.
Yeah. No, for sure, and that's also we are our biggest competitor because our free offering, the community network, has almost as many features as our enterprise offering, but we are at least controlling our biggest competitor. So, but yeah, certainly it's hard to compete with free.
Yeah, and that's a good thing actually. So for us, it's actually an amazing sales tool as well, because if we now get someone in the funnel, like someone emails like, oh, hey, I'm interested in embedded machine learning and I want to do this. If at that point we actually realize, okay, this is great, but it's not a super hot lead, we can just say, okay, use the free version, get your data in, it does everything that you do. It's missing a couple of features that you probably want later in the life cycle of your project, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes kind of this stuff does convert a little bit. So we had somebody really hot lead coming in, and they're like, we actually did all the prototyping here, we did this, and now we just need collaboration and we need data integration and we need to host it ourselves. Can we talk to sales? That's kind of cool. Yeah. But not as natural as it would go normally. That's cool. Yeah. So on a completely different note, we all know that IoT means hardware, and that means that we have done a lot of workshops.
Yeah, at least you are an embedded software engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that should help.
Not by choice.
No.
For me, embedded, so very interesting backstory. Like I am an embedded developer now, but I never wanted to be an embedded developer. I was a web developer, working on a wide variety of products, Cloud9, now part of AWS. And somebody got hired to work on Firefox OS, now defunct operating system by Mozilla for kind of third world systems. You can do a lot kind of in this HTML-based front end that we did, but then it's something you want to fix something in the browser engine. So I started doing C++, and then from there you kind of get dragged into the world of, if I can build a phone, and we actually completely design our phone and shipping it, and we know how hard actually shipping hardware is. You can attest to that.
Yeah.
Shipping the things gateway.
Yeah.
And then from there I kind of went down the path. Okay, now I want to make this stuff run, longer on a battery. And then the only thing you can actually do is get a microcontroller out and start designing it in that way.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not by choice. It's just by unfortunate accident.
Yeah, right. No, indeed. But also, I am old enough. I'm 34 now. I started programming when I was 11. My dad has a financial software company, and so he sort of gave me some books, and it was 1998 or something, a completely different time. And at the time, you also had sort of the same constraints as many embedded developers have now. You don't have garbage collectors, you don't have always internet connectivity. So it could be that you allocate memory and it's not available, or you need to really think conscious about your memory map and about the size of your data that you send over the wire. And now, all those years later, even though I'm a cloud developer, I can still relate to the constraints of the devices that are on our network.
Yeah, so I started in Visual Basic 6, and on arrow resume next was kind of the best feature.
Yeah. I never touched Visual Basic.
So speaking about hardware and IoT, we've done a bunch of workshops over the time. What was our worst one?
Yeah, that's number one. Worst one would definitely be our workshop at South by Southwest. We had a workshop with about 90 people. I think it was a Saturday morning, 9 a.m.
We paid good money for this as well. Like the tickets for South by like $1,500 or something.
Yeah. And we thought we prepared everything. So we had a custom board, and we had a whole application and everything all steps through. And then you had a lot of support from ARM, where you were working from. So there were 6-7 people also helping out, 90 people participating in the workshop. And we are there 15 minutes before it starts. And And we find out that there's something with the radio that doesn't work. So everything works except you weren't able to let the device transmit a message, which is quite essential for a workshop that's about IoT connectivity. But fortunately, 90 people in the group, many of them were new to programming, new to embedded programming, let alone IoT connectivity. So I know Jan pretty well, and we were sitting there, two of us in the front, jet-lagged, sitting with our boards, and Jan starts swearing, and at some point we start speaking in Dutch, and
always a sign that something is amiss.
And Jan is completely red, and he was just swearing at his computer, and his colleagues are coming to the table and they're like, what's Jan, what's up? What's going wrong? Yeah, no, this doesn't work. And but it was showtime, so it was 9 a.m. sharp, and we had to start. So what I really admire also in the way you approach these things, you just stood up and you were just giving your introduction like nothing happened. And we started our workshop, and when everyone got set up with Arduino IDE and installing the drivers.
We had this amazing idea about tracking pollen, I think.
In
Austin.
Right.
We did this amazing. We just wanted to go to South by Southwest. That was kind of the gist of the story, right? We needed an excuse to get platinum passes at South by.
Yeah.
So we wrote this amazing story about pollen in Austin and how we're going to track that, with the things that we have some gateway secured.
And then the most beautiful thing happened, and that is when somebody, it was a 3-hour workshop, maybe, or 2 hours at least. It was a long workshop. And then after 2.5 hours, somebody came to us and she said, "Hey, it's a Christmas tree." And that was
blinking LEDs.
Blinking LEDs. And she was super happy with that. She had, her board connected to her computer, that the serial driver worked, that her embed CLI compiler, I guess, or online compiler worked, and everything worked. And she got blinking LEDs, and she was super happy. And we got really good ratings.
Yeah.
But we only had 10 out of 90 boards that were actually working.
Yeah, we got a new shipment in the day before, overnighted from Slovenia, where they were being produced.
Yeah.
And a flaw somewhere. We still don't know what happened there or why the radio didn't work. Well,
but we did many workshops.
We did many workshops. A lot of fun ones. Good times. I remember. So actually, at South by Southwest in 2016, we were also both there. Doing workshops. And I remember sitting with you in a Russian restaurant where I think you just bought at the Maker Fair, you bought 40 kits with LEDs.
We started only half a year before that first workshop. And workshops and conferences and workshops are really good ways to push yourself and the team to a certain, achievement. You need to show something. So you're there on stage, you want people to touch your stuff. And we started, it was our first workshop indeed, one of our first workshops, and it was half a year after we started. And we met already before, but it was we happened to be there, both of us. And I was completely new to embedded development, and we brought our Arduino-based developer kit, and it was also quite new for me. And we didn't have any sensors; it was only the developer board, and it was just about connectivity. And so Wink and I were walking, on the Maker Fair, and we saw other companies that were selling Arduino sensors. So I thought, okay, I just buy a bag of Arduino sensors. I have the workshop tomorrow, and I'll figure out how this is going to work. So we were indeed in a Russian restaurant with a bag of Arduino sensors with random sensors like temperature, humidity, soil moisture, and everything. And I had the bag on the table, and I said to Jan, I'm just going to make this work. We'll figure it out. And I woke up the next day early, and I started looking into how connecting these sensors. And at 3 p.m. we had the workshop, and 20 minutes before everything worked. And I had to teach everyone what I did basically, and they all thought that, I knew a lot about this.
You asked me, you had the two wires, the red and the black one, and you asked whether one was more positive than the other, or
there's a difference between
and the orientation of the wires.
You could have told me everything.
I was not sure. I didn't know you so well back then. Unfortunately, that would have been a good prank. Other fun times in Austin.
For sure.
Right. For our final 2 minutes, what are kind of the main challenges that you see for TTN and the wider IoT ecosystem right now?
I think what we hear a lot about now is the shortage of MCUs. So it's really hard to purchase the chips for your devices, and they are obviously needed in every IoT device. So we also see that customers are already struggling with buying large quantities of end devices.
We lost a customer actually over this because they couldn't get the MCUs in place.
Yeah.
And another customer slipped half a year release dates because of that problem.
Other than that, we are scaling up. We found our position in the market, and hopefully when this pandemic is over, we can start organizing big conferences again. Fortunately, we are not so much hit by the pandemic in our business. It was also a really good year to focus a bit more on our product and to have a bit more internal focus and not be rushed around the world the whole time. We used to travel a lot. Also, we traveled a lot together. And I'm also, we also, took advantage of that, I think, in our way.
Yeah, so we're actually taking a page out of your playbook because we are organizing our own conference.
Oh, nice.
Edge Impulse Imagine. There you go. Wow. 28th of September till 1st of October. So
that's a good name.
Yeah, and part virtual and parts in real life. So we're having a small event in San Jose. In the Computer Science History Museum in Mountain View. Cool. It's going to be really, really awesome. Like the venue is fantastic, and then presentations then, and then 2 days of workshops with partners. So
nice.
Really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
cool. It's amazing to finally see people again. That is, I think, the biggest win. Like in the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't really miss the travel so much, but now it's we just want to go out and actually talk to people again, rather than just sit behind a microphone and talk.
Yeah. No, me too. Very much looking forward. But I hope to come by.
Yeah, I think it'll be fantastic.
Yeah,
I booked my flights already. It's amazing.
Nice.
So, Johan, thanks so much for the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, lots to talk about developers and community and building companies,
building a business.
And I hope that if you're listening right now and you think, hey, I want to do an IT business, think of developers first. I think for us, both of us, that has really been the lesson that we've learned over the last 6 and 2 years.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and thanks so much IoT Central for hosting this show and having us on.
We hope you enjoyed this IoT Central podcast episode. Visit iotcentral.io for more insights and events. Thank you for listening.